handle the PowerPoint presentation, and whether you can see it somewhere. Yeah. So my name is Auke from Goot. I come from the Netherlands. I've been the chair of a subcommittee in the CDLR, it's the Council of Europe Committee on Local and Regional Authorities, that deals with cross-border cooperation. And I had, well, the pleasure, basically, cooperating with many members here in this group. And I also read some documents produced by ISIG, which for me meant some sort of institute that was responsible for prestigious research on cross-border cooperation in a faraway town in Gorizia. So I'm very happy that I'm now here to see this institute, to see the people that are here, the students that are here, and to see how, and to learn the next days, how cross-border cooperation in this area functions between Slovenia and Italy. Extremely interesting. We, as representatives from the central government, we aim at producing legal texts. Legal text means treaties, conventions, and recommendations whatsoever. But Congress members, those who are political representatives, and work with people on the ground, they experience whether these legal documents do function properly. A legal document is just, or legal instrument is just a tool. But if it is not used by people on the ground, it doesn't mean anything. So it's very great to learn from your experiences, also to listen carefully as representatives from the central government that at some stage, many years ago, perhaps central government in Slovenia was less in favor than it is now in assisting you and allowing you to have cross-border cooperation. And indeed, that is one of the tasks of our intergovernmental committee, to talk to each other, to have exchanges of experiences. And as Paul-Henri Phillips, our chair at stage, already indicated, we in the Benelux countries have quite a long-standing tradition that we feel that local and regional authorities should be able to cooperate without almost no intervention at all from the central state government. That means that they can conclude their own agreements without even getting permission from central state authorities, as long as they remain within the legal framework. So that's a bit about how the Council of Europe, the intergovernmental sector, works. And I'd like to explain a little bit to you what we have been doing so far since the 1970s, 1980s. Let me see whether this works. Yes. So that means a short presentation of the CDLR, and CDLR is the French abbreviation, as in English says, the Steering Committee on Local and Regional Democracy, and of its activities on governance and cross-border cooperation on the one hand, and demonstrate the added value of the Euro-region cooperation grouping tool to cross-border governance. CDLR, what is the composition of the CDLR? Its members come from, in many cases, from the central government ministries. Because at the central government, in many cases, it's those are the authorities that should allow local and regional authorities to cooperate. But of course, you have a number of countries that have a federal structure, including Austria, including Germany, including Belgium, not to forget. And that means that in those countries, the responsibilities, which normally in countries like Italy and the Netherlands are at state level, they are decentralized at the regional level. So that means that Mr. Paul-Henri Phillips, he is from the region of Brussels capital, and he represents from that region the responsibilities in this area. There's also one from the Flanders region, there's also one from the Walloon region. But it may differ among countries how they work together. At central government level, it's mostly from the ministers of the interior, or the minister is responsible for local and regional government, for regional development, etc., etc. Legal instruments. Sorry if it sounds a bit dull, I try to avoid this, but so it's always talk about legal instruments. We have two types of legal instruments in the Council of Europe. One is soft law. That means it is not binding. And they are called, in the Council of Europe, recommendations. I have highlighted a number of relevant recommendations of the Council of Europe, the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe, that are relevant for cross-border cooperation. One is about cultural field in 2001. One is about good practices from 2005. And one is about the conclusion of Transfrontier Cooperation agreements in Southeastern Europe. I myself have most experience with the middle one, 2005. What we did there is basically have an exchange between the member states and identify what were good practices and bring these good practices together in a recommendation. And that you can read such a text and draw inspiration from such a text in your day-to-day work, also as local council, so to speak. What international organizations also do very much is drawing conventions, making conventions. And conventions are binding on member states. And legal experts say member states are parties. So you should forget that these parties are member states that have accepted that convention. Since 1980, the Council of Europe adopted 7 conventions in the field of local authorities. And 4 out of them are dealing with cross-border cooperation. One is the European Charter for Local Self-Government, I will come back to that. One is about the participation of foreigners, and we don't have the precise text, in local life. And one is also about good practices in local experiments. In the field of cross-border cooperation, then the main instrument, the first instrument was the 1980 Madrid Outline Convention. It was signed in Madrid, that's the reason why it is called the Madrid Outline Convention. It was the first. It was the only international treaty whereby states committed themselves to enabling their local and regional authorities to engage in cross-border cooperation. And enabling is an important word. And I will come back to that. What does it mean? It does mean that member states should facilitate and foster cross-border cooperation. And you already explained how that functioned 10 years ago. But member states that have ratified the Madrid Outline Convention have identified we will facilitate and we will foster. And they have to report to the Committee of Ministers in which way they do so. If it does not so, it can be the Congress that identifies malpractices, so to speak. This certainly is not the same as recognizing the right of local regional authorities to engage in cross-border cooperation. I remember from the 1970s, it shows my age unfortunately, I remember from that time that local authorities that were criticizing outspend oranges in South Africa because of what's happening over there. But ministers of foreign affairs said, this is not your cup of tea. You're not allowed to have an opinion, to have a view on origins from South Africa. It's the member states' responsibility. That's fair. It went far further. That also meant that local authorities should not easily cooperate across the border. That was state responsibility. The idea that Gorizia and Nova Gorizia could sign an agreement, or that in the Benelux countries among each other, local authorities could sign an agreement in the 1970s, it was not usual. And that has changed. And one of the changes that came through the Congress, didn't have the name Congress, it had some other odd bureaucratic name, but basically it was the Congress. So that means the political people from local authorities that said there should be the possibility to do so. Now that idea that member states should facilitate and encourage cross-border cooperation but not yet allowing that there was a right for local and regional authorities. That instrument from 1980, at this time already 37 out of 47 member states of the Council of Europe have ratified that treaty. 3 more member states have signed, but not yet ratified, and 7 have not said anything so far.
10 minutes.
You're moving very well, thank you. The right of local and regional authorities was identified in 1985 in the European Charter of Local Self-Government. And in Article 10 of the Charter, member states, when ratifying this, recognize the right of local authorities to cooperate with other authorities and to join international associations to promote their goals and defend their interests, as well as to cooperate with the counterpart of other states. And at this time, 46 out of 47 member states have ratified this convention. And only 1 member state, the Republic of San Marino, has signed it, not yet ratified. So there is only 1 member state missing, and then all 47 member states of the Council of Europe have accepted this legal instrument. I'm not sure, I did not read whether they have accepted Article 10, all of them. That's 1 or 2 have not accepted Article 10, that is possible under this treaty, but that is interesting, and the Congress that could report. There are 2 more legal instruments, one from 1995, which says that in cross-border cooperation, indeed, there is a right, so basically referring to the 1985 European Charter of Local Self-Government. There are 23 ratifications, 1 that is Slovenia, 6 signatures not for ratification, that is Italy, it belongs to them. And there is another protocol from 1998, which allows for interregional cooperation, twinning, etc. 22 ratifications, among them Slovenia, and 5 signatures, not Italy so far. Then the new one, the protocol number 3 on Euro-regional cooperation rubrics, which is open for signature since the ministerial conference in Utrecht has already identified by Paul Rie at his introductory speech. 8 member states of the Council have ratified this one, including Slovenia, and 5 more member states have signed but not yet ratified. So there's some work to do in this area. Referring to Utrecht doesn't mean that because it's so important that I come from the Netherlands and I wanted to mention this to you. What is important is that at the time in 2008-2007, when we were developing this instrument, there were a number of countries that were in favor of doing this work. Among them Slovenia, Germany, France, the Benelux countries, Montenegro, Switzerland, and Ukraine have been very active in promoting this legal instrument coming into effect and have it as a text. What is the aim of this new convention? It allows for the establishment and cooperation of Euro-regional cooperation groupings, so that's the title of such cross-border facility. It's a sort of Euro-region, so to speak. It looks primarily at local authorities and other public bodies from the member states, and to have an exchange and put in the scope of the competence and prerogatives. And what is also possible under protocol number 3 is to draw up model national laws. At the moment we are in the Council of Europe, we are drawing up some clauses, possible clauses for national law which would facilitate the creation of Euro-regional cooperation groups in member states. The use of an ECT is optional, so if a member state signs or ratifies the document, it does not mean that for cross-border cooperation we should use it, we may use it. The instrument is primarily designed for local and regional authorities, but other parties at state level or legal persons established for a specific purpose of meeting needs of the general interest can be involved as partners. But the majority voting rights are for local and regional authorities. It is, member states can decide that prior permission to set up such a cross-border facility is not necessary. Many member states feel it is necessary to give some blessing in advance, but those member states that feel local and regional authorities can start without even a prior acknowledgement can do so and can decide to do this. All activities that can be set up by local and regional authorities within the legal framework at home can be used. For cross-border conference, for cross-border consultation, for making agreements, for small-scale cross-border projects, for instance for theaters or for music, whatsoever. All this can be perfectly run by an ISIG. In principle, however, it's not designed for the management of large-scale infrastructure projects, like the creation of hospitals, for instance, tramways. Then there are so many financial responsibilities. You may look for some other legal instrument, like, for instance, the ETTC, that is an EU instrument. Well, if you have any questions, take your hand. Thank you.